Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, this is on what's going on in the internet world and with everything that's going on in the world, just in general. I just wanted to step in and say hello to everybody. The way my day is panning out is it is like 96 degrees, very hot out there, of course, in the middle of a heat wave, and I'm waiting for my uncle to send over what I need to pay the room off. So instead of just going out roaming around, I figured I'd just kind of stay in the house, drink water, stay next to the fan, and just wait until that comes through before I bounce out and actually start my day. So that's what I'm doing. Been listening to a lot of stuff on the internet, some of it entertainment, some of it stuff that's going on in Gaza. It's just a bunch of stuff that I would love to cram into one video, but I don't know that I'm actually going to walk that much today to really get one of them hour-long videos off the top. So I just figured I'd turn on the camera now and see what comes of it. But I don't even know where to start, man. The last thing I was listening to was stuff on Young Thug. They're continuing to release videos, audio footage on him, and I mean, in this fickle world, ladies and gentlemen, the overused phrase of all publicity is good publicity has never been more relevant than it is in this era. Right now, he could drop an entire surprise album and it'll probably sell more than any other album he's done just because of what's involved, what his name's involved in right now. It ain't nothing positive. His character's in question in a million different ways. But his name is hot as it's ever been. His name ain't been this hot since he wore a dress. You know what I mean? Even during the trial, his name wasn't as hot as it is right now. People love controversy. And I don't know that this is not the perfect time for him to drop a song or something. With all the stuff that's coming out of him being a chatty patty, it's not even about snitching anymore. It's just them releasing calls on him talking behind people's backs. It's just like really gossipy, chatty patty stuff. If I'm him, the best way I'm spinning this is to probably start my own YouTube channel where I'm gossiping with people, or start my own channel, try to pitch a show to different networks or whatever to see if I can get in a situation where I can turn this energy into something that can make me $1 million. Because at the end of the day, his image is tainted as it pertains to him being a serious gangster. Now, maybe he is a serious gangster in the streets. Who knows? That's their business. I don't know. But the point is, his persona is not what it was. But now he's known for something else. And so sometimes they say the truth will set you free. He's been exposed as a chatty dude. So what do you do when you're a chatty dude? You turn it into something. If you're a celebrity, if you're an entertainer, you turn it into something. This may be this may be a rebranding segue into him being the male Wendy Williams. You know what I mean? Like, he could literally spin this a million different ways if his head's on straight. And so that's just what came to mind. And listening to all this, he talking about Kendrick Lamar, he talking about Lil Durk. And I'm listening to what he's saying in these conversations as he's talking about these people. And essentially what the reoccurring theme is in his conversations is that he wants to see people help other people out. That's getting lost in the fact that he's hating on people, which he's literally doing. He's saying stuff he probably don't want them people to hear. You know what I mean? Just like a lot of people do when they confide in people they trust. But he confided in people, and those calls were being recorded. So now we get to hear how people... I mean, I think it's just like what I said about snitching. You got to be a very but a very strong-minded individual to keep it solid about things that irritate you and bother you in the confines of your own home, in the presence of your own thoughts, and when you're talking to people you really trust. You're going to confide in them differently, 9 out of 10 people. Now, some people are so solid that the same thing they say to your face, same thing they say behind your back. But a good most people tend to let their guard down and allow their true thoughts to flow in spaces where they feel they can hide those feelings. And when I said about snitching, it's like, yo, you only know who you are in those situations when you're faced with those circumstances. Everybody think they solid till they get in there, have them psychological games played on their head, and have 20 and 30 years thrown at them. And we're going to see how well you're going to be able to stay solid. It takes a unique individual to actually do so. It takes a strong, spirited, minded individual to actually be able to overcome all that's being thrown at them, accept the 30 years just so that they can keep a code that likely will go unthanked. Not too many people gonna do that. Everybody gonna claim they demand everybody do that, but very few actually do it. And same goes with the idea that everything you're gonna say in somebody's face, you're gonna say it behind their back or vice versa. That's not real. And what this is exposing is Thug's version of that. I think that he could be considered disrespectful, depending on who, people will posture in these circumstances. You talk about Lil Durk, you got people around Lil Durk who ain't gonna like that. They gonna like anything that you say that ain't positive about Lil Durk. The truth of the matter is, in the confines of their comfortable spaces, they probably talking just as bad about Lil Durk. But in the presence of posturing and trying to be aligned with Lil Durk for the sake of for whatever their reasons are, they gonna want to attack anybody who says anything negative about them. It's just the presence of politics. So that could be a real thing for, same thing with Kendrick Lamar. He said things about Kendrick. They're gonna be people around those people and fans of those people who are gonna hate you just because you said something negative about them or just because you didn't say something favorable about them. But I think the point that I took from Thugger is, at the end of the day, the consistency is he wants to see people help people out to his standards, whatever that looks like. Do songs with this person, do songs with that person, pay this person what they supposed to be paid. Real integrity things are essentially the essence of his complaints. And I don't think that fits many people's narrative who are covering the situation. Is he displaying a great deal of integrity? No, because he's talking crazy about people behind their back. But what is he talking about? He's talking about P not paying Baby what he thinks P should be paid, regardless of whether or not his point of view on that is what it should be. I think when it comes to business and ownership, there can be a bit of a disconnect between the position of somebody who owns versus a position of talent who's on contract. Sometimes talent thinks they deserve more than they do until they get in that ownership seat, start investing their own money in whatever, then they start having a different point of view on how much money they should be taking back or what have you. I think that disconnect and that ignorance may be in place with that conversation. Or the Kendrick Lamar situation, he thinks that Kendrick should have been doing songs with more people, that he felt Kendrick wasn't doing enough of lifting other people up and things like that. I don't know when that conversation was had, but it seems to me that Kendrick Lamar has kind of shifted his gears over the last 3 years. So when was that conversation had? Has things changed since? And with that, would a new opinion arrive? You know what I mean? And so that's also context that doesn't fit a lot of people's narrative, is that Thug did a lot of this stuff in the past. Does he still have them same opinions? Has he not lived to see people change a little bit, to change his opinions? Has he not grown a little bit since saying those things? Nobody who's covering this gonna say, there's a chance, or there's a very, very good chance that there's a lot of change in the growth of the human being since those conversations were had. The internet wants you to be married to your opinions so they can capture them and define you as simply as the internet defines you. But the reality is, people grow, people change, people digress and get worse in some cases. So if you're gonna be married to an opinion of a person, you got to ask yourself, are you married to all the opinions that you've had in your life about every little thing? And if the answer is no, if somebody were to take a camera and put it in your face during the time when you had a certain opinion and then label that being your opinion for the rest of your life, would they not be inaccurate and descriptive on how you feel at a given moment in the future? And we have to do our own thinking out here, because those who want to cover these stories are not going to do the thinking for us. They're not. They're just going to present it the way that fits their narrative and then let us run around with our thoughts. But we got to be a lot smarter than that to say. Thugger said some stuff back in 2015. It's 10 years later, you still feel the same way. Do you still feel the same way about everything you said back in 2015? If the answer is yes, there's a damn good chance you haven't done much growing in life, and that's not a good thing. So that's what I want to say about that whole Thugger situation. I think you should probably spin it and just accept that he's this chatty patty looking type of character out here and make some music and then turn it into a show and just run with it that way. But what people who are saying he needs to do music need to understand is they put so many restrictions on his probation that he can't be in certain places, that he can't talk about certain things in his music, and they're so restrictive to where it's probably difficult for him to make the type of music that he expects people are gonna like. Because if he says some of those things, they're gonna send him back to jail. So that's also context that's extremely important to Young Thug's situation. It ain't as simple as him just stepping out, getting back to doing what he used to do, because what he used to do, he can no longer do, based on the stipulations and his probation. So, yeah, man, this is ugly, but his name is hotter than it's ever been, and at the end of the day, the man's an entertainer. And so if there's a way to crash out in situations, get sent back to jail or worse, or there are ways to spin this, utilize the hype, and capitalize on it and make some money. He made some mistakes in that regard leading up to this point, which is why they have so much data on him. If he would not have been confiding in so many people over jail phones and not communicating with the cops like he was a damn friend for 2 hours, he would have been in a position where none of this would have been able to be used against him, which is why I say be careful what you do. Also, point of view that was in one of the videos was him essentially saying that he was talking to 21 Savage, and 21 suggested to him that he allowed Gunna the grace of being seen as someone who didn't snitch for the sake of the business. He could say that he told Gunna to do this and that this is how we were going to try to accomplish our goals in finance by sending Gunna out there to make money, and the sacrifice would be him snitching on the game. From there, coming back out, making music with Gunna, and capitalizing on all of the love that comes with that process, and all of the music that comes from Gunna, who's an actual musician, as opposed to just an MC. That was 21 suggesting. Thugger stood on his laurels as it pertains to his anti-snitching thing, and he hates Gunna for doing that, and he didn't capitalize on the opportunity to make the money that could have been available if he would have just ignored the snitching part of the game, let that boy take his plea deal, probably extort him, which is what 21 was kind of saying, take like 80% of his profits, so long as he continue to allow for this boy to walk around as if he's not a snitch when he is. As long as he's willing to co-sign the snitching, so to speak, so he would be able to tax that boy for all of these gains that he's ultimately getting, for all the success he's had since coming out. I don't know if that's the moral way of taking it, but hey, the boy snitched on you, you have that leverage on him, 21 said use it. That was essentially what people thought would have been a smarter thing. He didn't take the smarter approach. Furthermore, where we are as well with that evidence against his character. On camera, on audio, talking to 21 Savage, essentially saying all that he felt about Gunna and his approach, and it's just not. It wasn't a smarter play. And so, if Thug didn't learn anything from all of this, in my opinion, it's to take the high road. Your hate ain't never helped you. Having hate for Gunna ain't helped you. It's talking behind people back with hate and a disgruntled way of doing things ain't help you in no kind of way. You gotta get that hate out of your heart, regardless of why it's there, so that it can stop kicking you in the backside. That's what I would tell him. Because ultimately, your enemies, your real enemies who hate you, they're using all this against you, and they're making things tough for you, both with your character and likely in the streets. So, in a space where you're disarmed, because if you do anything out there, you're going to jail for the rest of your life. So this is a trap meant to back him into a corner where he don't do nothing but get himself thrown back in prison. And I think if you're looking at it the way I'm looking at it, I think the best way to hide in those situations is out front and center. Out front and center. Because if you try to do anything at all illegal, they're going to send you back to jail for the rest of your life. And so that's what I would tell them. I tell them to get on camera, sit down with somebody, and talk that talk, and then spin it into a series, or spin it into a show, or spin it into a YouTube channel or something. I would tell them that. And watch all your hits come your way. You have more hits than a lot of them because your name is on fire. So It's up to him, man. He can crash out or he can cash out. That's my take on the Young Thug situation. If I'm him, I'm cashing out. So that's my point of view on that. Plus, the point is to try to position yourself to not be at risk to go back to prison. So you got to change your image if you want to continue to be a celebrity. You got to. So that would be my point of view with him. Like, it ain't no sense in trying to be a rapper or a gang member, a rapper image. That stuff don't work no more. You do better trying to take the approach, the Wendy Williams approach, because it'll allow you to continue to make money in your field without actually having any chance of crossing over into some of those traps that are meant for you to go back to prison. So what I would tell him, man, this is a perfect layup if you're looking at it the right way. It really is. But yeah, man, I probably just leave a video there called The Message to Thug. I'll probably just do that, and then just make a whole nother video on other topics. Because at the end of the day, like, it's so much stuff that he probably need to hear that I just said right now. And so that's pretty much it. Video 44. Thank y'all for watching.